The Patreon request this week that we rolled was the 2012 film Chronicle, as requested by Tutbot on Patreon. Thank you for the request. And you've also want to get your request picked and reviewed by us. You can go to guapish.com/Patreon for $1 a month. Get your movie in and we'll review it at some point. Tanner, I think it'd be funny for you and not Nico specifically to give the plot synopsis of this movie.
Fair enough. Chronicle is the story of a couple of high school kids who find a weird object that gives them telekinetic abilities. They're having a fun time doing that, and then one of the kids has family issues that cause him to start losing his mind, and he goes on a bit of a psychosis spiral, and he eventually just starts fucking killing people. And then they stop him. The end. Fun fact, this movie was primarily filmed in Cape Town, South Africa.
What?
Huh? Wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah.
I know, right? It looks so much like Seattle.
True. They built their own fake Space Needle? Yeah, whatever they're called.
Yeah, the
so
big
Dylan
Space Needle.
Gave this movie a B+.
Currently, I'm sitting at a C+.
Dude, currently, I'm sitting at an S-.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm at a B- for this one.
Whoa.
There are two
dude, I just fucking love this movie,
It has
honestly.
superpowers in it. Like, what the fuck is your guys' problem? How could you not enjoy it?
I just really thought it was a great
before
time.
you say anything, let me just clarify something really quickly with you. Is this like a so bad it's good type of thing, or do you genuinely think this is like a good movie of its own merits?
I genuinely think this is a good movie on its own merits.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a really well-written story, pretty neat. I thought our characters were fantastic, especially with dialogue. Just like watching them, I was like, man, this is exactly how, high school dudes act around each other and talk and whatever. I saw a lot of critic reviews where like, it turns into a bunch of fucking slop at the end, and I ate that slop up. I loved it. I thought it was a great payoff for like, just throughout the movie they're building up how they're getting stronger and whatever, and I thought that ending fight was a really solid payoff and pretty cool. It has a lot of the same issues that found footage movies have, where it's like, I mean, how do you really justify them still filming this, And then there's some bad CGI here and there as well, but like, really, it was just the story and the characters just were fantastic to me, so I really, really fucked with this movie.
I thought the characters were fine. I don't think they were like super standout. The biggest issue for me was just like our main boy, what the fuck? I don't know any of these characters' fucking names, but our
Andrew,
our Andrew, his just fucking immediate spiral into like, I am the apex predator. I'm so much stronger than everyone else. Fuck these guys. So what? I threw up on a woman. Who cares? And then he just becomes a fucking psychopath after that. It was very strange.
Yeah, I disagree. I think the ramp up to that was, it felt
yeah, you think that was
correct and-
understandable? That's what set him over the edge?
Yeah.
I feel like you could also maybe imply that the fucking powers go into his head a little bit, and that, adds to like the stress, his mom fucking passing away or whatever. He didn't know that at the moment, but she's fucked up. He hates his fucking dad. I could maybe not see exactly where he went, but I feel like there's probably something associated with the power that's happening with that. One thing that I do think, this is kind of a minor thing, that I think is kind of annoying, is they do a lot of illusions of all of the kids. I say illusions. They allude to the kids being connected by, like the nosebleeds when people are using their powers too much or whatever. Like somebody else gets a nosebleed if somebody else uses their powers a lot. But they don't really play with that idea a crazy amount or explain why. I feel like they could have had some sort of, I don't know, more of a plot thread with that, but they don't really do anything outside of it, just like lets the other characters know that they're using their powers, and I think it's, I don't know, it's kind of a dropped concept, personally.
I can kind of see that. I like that they don't reveal a ton of stuff. I was really expecting them, at the end of the movie, they were going to finally like re-unearth the thing, and they were going to play back the tape that was buried down there, and there was going to be some big crazy reveal that they were like possessed by aliens or some shit. But I'm actually pretty happy with where it ended, and that we it is left open to the interpretation so much.
Yeah. I will say one of my biggest criticisms of this movie is, really it just is the format of it. It being like a found footage style thing. I think this could have worked potentially, but the initial reason for him recording everything at all time, one, it's to defend himself from his father, so he has like evidence of something, but also like he doesn't need to record everything constantly because of that. So just it's on pretty shaky ground to start, and then I think it's kind of funny that they try to play with it with like the other girl also doing recording constantly, so that we have different angles for it in scenes where the main character's not around. I think it's kind of funny.
That seems to be her only purpose in the story too.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's funny, not in like a good way. It's kind of like a criticism way. And then, of course, at the very end, they just don't give a single fuck anymore. I feel like the movie would have been better if they just didn't focus on it that way. I see what they're going with for it. It's probably just like they thought it was cool at the time, but yeah, I don't know. I think it would have been better to not record itself that way, personally.
It was very funny to see him just like pull the phones out of like all the people's hands and the fucking like Space Needle just so he can have more angles that they can shoot that scene at.
Yeah, that shit was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's dumb, but I do think that the found footage aspect of it does give it a little bit of charm. Like when we're seeing them do their big fight and we see like the footage from like random people being like, whoa, what the fuck is going on out there on the street? Whoa, that's crazy. Just that kind of stuff. I think there's a little bit of charm to it. Overall, it's I don't know though, because it's like, how the fuck is any of this like actually being put into a digestible manner like this?
Yeah, it's not. The believability of it really just seems like they're just doing it for like an interesting piece of cinematography, and I don't think they were going hard enough to try to like actually make it feel like what it is. I will agree with Tanner though. I do like the characters, I would say. I think for the most part they do feel like high school kids with their dumb interactions and shit. I feel like a lot of their honestly, I like the movie like the first half of it, and then it started going downhill for me near the second half of it mostly. But yeah, I like their initial intros to the power and them fucking around with stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. And then after that, I started losing me. I don't know. It's hard to put into words exactly why I didn't particularly like it near the end, but the believability of it, I think, is a big portion. The fucking main character, I just found very annoying near the end too. I didn't really get his plight a ton because like he has so many actionable ways to work around his scenario and he just doesn't do anything about it. Like he's literally recording himself getting assaulted by his father, and what does he do? He goes and fucking beats up a bunch of hooligans rather than sending this to the fucking police or something. I don't know. I couldn't put myself in the main character's shoes a lot, and a lot of it was just really fucking goofy. So much goofiness in this movie. Like the fucking, I was supposed to feel something when the first guy dies, and I felt nothing. I just thought it was fucking hilarious, to be completely honest. Just caught me off guard and just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
The fucking main guy's speech in like the dumpster about like the fucking species being cold or something, hilarious. I just found the movie funny in like a schlocky way.
Fuck, that reminded me of something that I wanted to bring up. Shit, what was it?
Well, you're thinking of that. What did Dylan have to say? Chronicle,
okay. I guess help me out without being redundant for the movie review. But Chronicle. I do remember hearing about this movie when it came out, and I do remember wanting to see it, but obviously had never seen it. I think the concept in this movie is really cool. I think the way that it's filmed works for it, mainly just because, you know, you've got the main boy, he's just using his telekinesis powers to just float around the camera constantly to film himself and also his buddies doing some wacky shit. But, I mean, I thought it was... I remember, like, pointing out, I was like, man, the main character, despite him being the main character, has some real antagonist vibes going on right now. And I towards the end, I wasn't super sure about his character flip. Like, I kind of get it, but I mean, maybe I just don't fully grasp, like, the abusive nature of his relationship with his dad. But it seemed kind of weird where he'd been hanging out with his cousin and his friend for, like, what I'm assuming is like the past couple of months. Would it be safe to say they had been hanging out like every day for the past at least 2 or 3 months? Is that out of?
I don't fucking know what the timeline is.
Yeah,
Could have been a couple of weeks.
That's probably the other issue. I mean, I'm just assuming, considering like it seems kind of dangerous for them to be using this power beyond their limits, that they're not doing anything too crazy in such a short period of time. So I just kind of assumed it was over the course of months. But I think regardless, it's a really weird character shift for him to be like, oh, I've got friends and we've been hanging out, and then his dad's like, you don't have friends, and that just causes him to like snap and be like, maybe I don't have friends. But that could also just be in like ode to his like fragile psyche, I guess you could say, or maybe it's just like how he'd been growing up all of his life.
Well, and he also threw up on a chick. That was like the big inciting moment for his death spiral.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely part of it, but like the unfortunate bit there too is like his cousin and his friend were like always there for him, and he was just constantly rejecting their friendship for the most part. And you know, they attributed a lot of the cool things, like the one guy, I can't remember, I think his name was Steve. Was that the black kid's name? It was like Steve or whatever. He was like attributing a lot of the cool shit they were able to do to like stuff he was discovering, you know. I felt like there was enough of like praise and like positivity from the other two. I don't really think that like there was any reason for main kid to believe that, you know, they weren't actually his friends. So that was kind of strange in my opinion. But
Fun fact for you, Dylan, Steve played by young Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, that guy. But I do think it's really interesting how, in a way, at the end of the movie, you could reflect back and be like, oh, the cousin, like the older cousin, was actually the protagonist the whole time, and we just didn't know it. But I also like how, like, the movie slowly ramps up over time, especially in regards... I think it's kind of silly, and maybe I'm wrong for this, that in the description of the movie, it says these kids get superpowers. I guess if you take it in the most literal sense, then yeah, superpowers. But, just like...
I mean, what other... Are you saying telekinesis is not a superpower?
Like I said, if you take it in, like, the most face value way possible, yes. I guess maybe just because of the media that I'm exposed to when you view superpowers, telekinesis is pretty far down on the list for me, but... Regardless of that description,
I mean, they can fucking fly with that shit.
What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
I'm just gonna move on from that. I don't really think I had anything going for me there.
Professor X, Tatsumaki.
I don't fully remember who Tatsumaki is. What, hold on, Tatsumaki sounds... Or no, that's fucking One Punch Man.
One Punch Man.
But anyway, that actually was one thing I wanted to praise this movie for, is they took telekinesis and they made it such like an interesting... Like flying, for example. That was a really interesting thing to see. I thought that was very cool. And just I don't really know what else to say about this movie. I just thought it was very fun to watch. I remember as a kid seeing this kind of shit. This is the kind of like childhood like fantasy stuff that I really enjoyed. But I think the acting was also fine for the most part. I guess I should actually talk about the movie itself, not necessarily about the character and their flaws. But yeah, I don't really know what else.
If you guys got telekinesis, what % odds do you think it is that you would become evil?
100.
Yeah, probably. Like that shit he did, that Andrew did to that dude on the road, I would 100% have done that shit week 1.
Oh my god.
I don't know, like 5%. I'm not a violent person.
I'm at like a solid 20%.
You guys
are fucking capping, man.
Guys, I don't...
I mean evil, like, full-on, like, murdering people for no reason. You're saying there's 100% chance you'd start doing that?
Yeah, I'd become a mass murderer. I'd be like...
I don't have an Uncle Ben to keep me in line, dude, okay? I think, honestly, Tanner, I think that you're the most likely to do that. I think you're just putting on airs right now with this answer. You just like to say things to sound nice.
Yeah, Nico and I have fucking issues, man.
I mean, what do you guys think my chances are in that regard, since we're judging?
100%.
100%.
You're the most likely, quite frankly. I take back what I said about Tanner.
Why would I be the most likely? Explain this to me.
I think week 1, you kill 3 people by making a tree fall on them.
Why would I do that?
They pushed you too far.
Who did?
They made fun of you.
What's different? Why would if Nico,
You have superpowers now. You
why
can do
would I-
something about it.
Why would Nico? I don't need superpowers to kill somebody. Let's get one thing straight. I don't think
You can get away with it as an accident, though. With
I don't think that mattered. I don't have the mental fortitude to murder it. Guys, you know how I fucking reacted to sadness. You think I'd be able to do that shit of my own free will?
I mean, we're specifically saying you actually have the lack of mental fortitude necessary to do it.
I think you guys have a terrible, concept of how I would operate with superpowers, and I don't think that's my fault.
Yeah, I'd fucking, kill 100 people, I think.
Oh my
Me
god.
too.
Awful. Why?
I think I'd commit a fucking school shooting.
That's
Jesus.
okay.
I'd probably just take over a small third world country and then start a harem of women from every country.
That's pretty badass, too.
I honestly would just do things that would make my life easier. I'd just lift things I couldn't lift on my own, obviously, because I'm physically impaired as well. But, regardless of that, flight would be a definitely cool thing. That's definitely on the list. That's something I'd learned pretty early on.
Honestly, I just use my powers to help mankind. I'd help old ladies float across the street and stuff like that. I think that I'd be a very giving person with my powers.
How long do you guys think it would take for the government to catch Dylan?
That's the thing, though.
Notice him and then catch him.
That's the thing, though, is I don't know if I'd make it public knowledge that I have telekinesis, because there is the 100% chance that if the government found out about that shit, I'm getting dissected. So there is that.
Personally, I think I'm dead week 1, personally.
Huh.
I'm giving Dylan 8 days max.
Dude, there's no way I'm gonna display my powers for everybody to see. That's just stupid.
You're gonna be at work and they're gonna tell you to lift a fucking box and you're gonna use your powers to do it and somebody's gonna catch you and be like, what the fuck was that?
That's the trick, though. You would lift the box physically, but you'd use your telekinesis to assist you, so it doesn't look like you have superpowers.
See, unfortunately, this is a bait box. It was actually completely filled with 1,000-pound bricks, and you just lifted it.
They just had that lying around just for this scenario.
You guys are fucking crazy. You guys are setting me up for failure, quite frankly, and I don't appreciate it.
Dylan, just run with the bit, man. Please, I beg of you. I said I'd be a school shooter. You can say you'd get caught in a week. It's fine.
No, because you guys like to take what I say out of context and use it against me later, so I'm not gonna do that.
Dude, are we the women in this relationship? That's fucked up.
Probably. You guys like to do that to me a lot, and I don't fuck with that shit anymore.
We're so off track. Nico, please get a soundbite of me saying I'd be a school shooter.
Okay, will do, pal.
This is what I'm talking about. You guys have that fucking snippet of Dylan, do you want to be a grand wizard or whatever the fuck you guys said? And I was like, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. And then you guys try to pin that on me for being a fucking KKK leader or some shit.
It's obviously
We do it to everyone,
bit.
though.
I don't care. I don't appreciate it, so I don't fuck with it.
Dude,
No,
is
I'm not
it our
for-
fault if you don't know that the leader of the KKK is called the Grand Wizard?
Kind of.
On a
Listen.
completely unrelated note, Dylan, would you like to be a Grand Cyclops?
I'm not going to answer that question. I'm not going to answer a question I don't know the proper answer to.
Okay.
Not without
Personally, I'd say no because I want 2 eyes. I like having depth perception.
prior you can just have one really strong eye, dude. That's fine.
Yeah, they can fire lasers and shit from it.
I don't
I don't want to do
I don't
that.
think that's how that works.
If you could gain laser vision, but you had to become a Cyclops, would you do it?
It depends. Is it going to be fucking X-Men Cyclops laser vision, or am I able to just fucking control this shit like Superman?
No, it's gonna be real laser vision, not that pussy-ass bullshit they put in the X-Men.
So it's Superman laser vision.
Yeah.
I struggle to find the usefulness in laser vision and only laser vision, so I think I'll have to decline.
Think of how much easier it'd be to shoot up the school.
What's the range of laser vision? If I let that shit blast, how far does that laser go?
I mean,
is it-
hypothetically, a laser is a massless projectile, so I think it just keeps going until it hits something that can stop it.
That's what I assume would happen.
Could it cut through the earth?
Yeah, can I
Probably.
shoot myself by blasting it around the fucking earth and just hits myself in the back of the head?
That's not how that works,
I
unfortunately.
don't think gravity would impact it. I think it would
It's-
just go
yeah.
off into space.
A laser is just highly concentrated light, and light just travels in a straight path infinitely until, like Tanner said, it runs into something that stops it, so...
So you're saying, yes, you could just cleave the earth in twain.
Like I said, with enough effort, probably.
Hell yeah, man.
Well, Dylan, Did you like Chronicle?
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I feel like I didn't. I feel like I didn't have the capacity to rate this movie properly. What did I give it? I gave it like a B+ or something.
Yeah, something like that.
I feel like that's appropriate. I don't know if I truly appreciate the CGI in this movie was fine, I guess, but it's also 2012, and there's better examples of CGI in that era and even before then.
Like Transformers.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, the plot felt weird at times for me. Like, it's an enjoyable watch, but I'm not gonna go out of my way necessarily to watch it, but I still think it was well made. I guess I'll leave it at a B+. That sounds about right, I guess.
Okay.
I'd hope you'd leave it at the rank you said, because that would fuck Jackson up severely.
Yeah, unfortunately, you don't have a choice.
Did you remember?
I did. I just remembered. Okay. I really would have appreciated if they like had some line at some point where they're like, hey, so like people have like been seeing us fly lately, like they got footage of it, we should probably like chill out on that a bit. But no, we just never get any indication that nobody is seeing them fly at any point here. Even though it's doing it in like broad daylight.
Yeah, no, they didn't address any of them fucking literally just blatantly doing shit. Like flying around and falling down to the park and stuff. Lots of instances where they should have been caught, but they weren't. Pretty funny.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought it was a fine film. I will say, I checked out some reviews for this one, because I was very curious what people are thinking, much like Tanner. And from what I found like on YouTube, people fucking love this movie. They adore it. They just are head over heels with this thing.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either, quite frankly. You're a psychopath, Tanner. That's all I have to say.
Okay, I'm sorry I get to enjoy things and you don't.
I wish. I think the movie has a novel concept. I wish they played with it a little bit more. Don't ask me what I mean by that. But yeah, and honestly, it was just kind of like some schlocky movie for me for the most part. I didn't really take away a ton from it. Especially that ending, I thought was genuinely fucking just bad. To be honest. I didn't at that point I didn't really have any emotional attachment to any of the characters, so I didn't really give a shit about what was happening. I thought it was just kind of goofy and funny.
I did think it was cool when he fucking launched the spear into Andrew's chest, though. That was pretty sweet.
That shit was pretty hard.
Yeah.
First, if I was a cop, I would have fucking killed myself. I would have shot myself in the head.
Well, guys, are we keeping our ranks the same then?
Yeah.
I am.
I am as well. And Dylan probably is too. He doesn't have a say in it. He's not here. So, yeah, what does that give it?
B+.
Wow.
Whoa.
Shocker.